Are you unsure about the new in-island transactions that just came out inside of UEFN? Well, you're in the right place because in this video, I'm going to break down a ton of very impactful monetization strategies that you can implement directly inside of your island. If you're new here, my name is Mango and I have over 10,000 hours inside of UEFN. If you want a complete monetization checklist with every strategy from this video, it is available for completely free inside of my Discord server. You can join by clicking the very first link in the description. Now that in-island transactions are live, you can earn revenue directly from players inside your islands. But just slapping a store in your map isn't gonna cut it. There's a psychology behind how the best monetized games work, and that's what we're gonna be breaking down today. Now, with all that out of the way, let's jump straight into it. So the monetization mindset is that your island is a product. This is super important when you're designing things because there's really two approaches that you can take when designing a map. The first way to go about it is to treat it like a pure passion project. If it's purely for your own benefit and for your own creative outlet, that's totally fine. But if your whole goal is to make as much money as possible, you need to understand that your map isn't just a game. It's not just a experience. It's a product that you are trying to sell to your players. Instead of thinking about it like I designed a shop, what you should be thinking instead is I designed a new system that I can use as a source of revenue. And so another thing that you need to understand is that simply having products available might get you some sales, but real revenue comes from structure inside of your maps. Alright, so the next thing that I want to talk to you about is price anchoring and tiers. So the first thing is offering a spectrum of prices. You don't want to just offer really cheap things, and you also don't want to just offer really expensive things because not everyone can afford it. To get around that, what we like to do is offer a spectrum. And usually what this looks like is 3 or 4 main purchase options. But the key takeaway here is that you want to have something cheap and something expensive so that small buyers and big buyers both have something that they can buy. So the next thing that I want to talk about is something called the decoy effect, and it takes the core principle of having a spectrum. You can see here that there's 1,000 gold, 3,000 gold, and 5,000 gold. These 3 pricing options give a variety for the viewer to think about. What's special about the decoy effect is there is the low spend option, which only offers 100 V-Bucks for 1,000 gold, right? We don't want people buying this low spend option because it's the cheapest and it's only 100 V-Bucks. So instead what we do is we offer a better value per V-Buck in the middle tier option. So you can see that this is only 200 V-Bucks, but in exchange you get 3,000 gold, and that is a 15-to-1 ratio of V-Bucks right here, but this one over here is only 10-to-1. And so what makes this actually a decoy is this 500 V-Buck option over here. And the reason why this is a decoy is because this entire option right here makes this one look even better. People want to buy this one right here because it's the best value. And so when they see this one for 500, you might get some sales on that, but the whole point is to make this one look like the best available option. So basically what's happening here is that this person who originally wanted to spend 100 V-Bucks sees this one at the better value, and it looks even better because of this third option here, the decoy. We end up walking away with a 200 V-Buck sale instead of just what they originally planned on spending at 100 V-Bucks. One more thing about the decoy effect, if you really want to get the most amount of value out of this strategy, is make sure you emphasize how this is the best value or how this is like the most popular choice available. You can just put that directly on your UI. I promise you, you will get significantly more sales just by clearly stating that this is the better choice. It's really important that you make the person feel smart for buying it. And so if they have like a 100 V-Buck option, but the best value, the most popular option is 200 V-Bucks, they might be willing to spend more, and in often cases they are willing to spend more on the popular option, even though it's more expensive than they originally wanted to spend. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is timing your offers, because not all of your sales necessarily have to happen in a shop menu. So what do I mean by this? The first purchase that somebody makes is the most difficult one to get, because every single time that they purchase something, they're making what's called a micro commitment. The more times that you can get someone to buy something over and over and over again, it builds value inside of their head. And so they have this preconceived idea, oh, well, I already spent 100 V-Bucks on this map, so I might as well spend, a little bit more and a little bit more. So it gets easier to get people to make purchases, but the first purchase is by far the hardest one for you to get. So let's talk about how to actually implement this inside of your game. We already know that the first purchase is the hardest thing to make, and not everyone is going to go to the shop all by themselves. A strategy that you could implement inside of your island is after about 10 to 30 minutes or a significant milestone. Let's say you have a tycoon map. 15 minutes in, they have a massive milestone, like maybe they unlock the second floor of the building or what have you. At that point, you could implement a one-time starter bundle that pops up on their screen and says, oh my gosh, congratulations, like you just achieved this big milestone. Here's an offer that's just for you, a one-time starter bundle. It doesn't have to be just for them, but just emphasize the fact that this is a one-time only thing once they've already invested themselves into the map somewhat. Because if you just pop up a bunch of ads or a bunch of products in the very beginning, they don't have any commitment to your map. They're like, why do I care about this map? I don't give a shit. Like they need to have a little bit of an investment before you actually put an offer in front of them. Another thing that you could implement is some kind of time constraint. It could be fake. And when I say fake, I don't mean like don't lie to them, like that's not what I'm saying at all. But when you present them with the offer, you could say starter bundle only available for the next 5 minutes. So it's relative to them. They could have played the map at any point, but for them right now, there's 5 minutes available and then that offer disappears. And so you could encourage some spending that way by adding a time constraint. And so what this does is this again reinforces the idea that this is a smart decision rather than it being a buy me, buy me, buy me. It's making them feel like they have the advantage, and it's a good thing that they buy this thing that you're trying to sell to them. And so just to kind of recap what this might look like is the player's gonna first join the game and then they're gonna play for 15-20 minutes or something. This is when they hit the milestone in your game. It could be a checkpoint in a roguelike, it could be a second story in a tycoon, it could be a certain number of kills inside of a PvP game. Whatever kind of milestone makes the most sense for your island, once they achieve that, this is when you would actually display the starter bundle, and that's when they would be prompted to make the purchase. Now here's where it gets really interesting. You want to create a sense of urgency in all of the things that you sell. And so there's actually a term that we have for this, and it's called FOMO. Basically, FOMO is the fear of missing out. And so really, the fear of missing out is one of the most powerful monetization tools. And so some examples of this could be rotating or limited time items, kind of like what we were talking about with the starter bundle and only offering it for a certain amount of time. And so there could be really rare items that you have inside of your game that rotate out. So like, let's say the store refreshes every 10 minutes or something, or I don't know, every 5 minutes even. If they see a rare item inside of the store that is like a guaranteed purchase, that could be an example of urgency. And so people kind of get into this state of needing to buy now. I need to do this right now while it's in the store, especially if they only have 5 to 10 minutes to make up their mind. And so another way you can create a sense of urgency without it being extreme as like a rotating shop, you can also include seasonal and weekly items, and it does still cycle, but it's more of just a, hey, you should probably buy this before this event ends. You could tie it to a season and be like, this is the spring sale and you only are offering it through the month of February or something like that. And one more way that you could create a sense of urgency would be with a battle pass or any kind of timed progression. Let's say you had all these rewards, and instead of making people wait through all of them sequentially, you could just offer a time skip product that grants all of the rewards at once, essentially saving them the time and creating a sense of urgency of like, oh, well, I don't want to wait, so I might as well purchase this right now and get the advantage on everybody else. All right, so now that you have a good understanding of how to sell the product, I want to talk about what you should sell. So there's really two categories that your product will fall under. There's either the permanent one-time purchase products, and then there's also the consumable multi-time products. And these are going to be the real moneymakers. Focusing on the permanent products. So some examples of that would be the multipliers, and this would be 2x gold, 2x run speed, 2x progress, or any kind of value that you can multiply. Some other ones is like VIP access. If there's an exclusive part of your island that only certain people are allowed to go, you could sell a VIP pass, or you could sell some kind of premium version of your island. Another really good way of implementing some permanent things would be some quality of life features like extra inventory slots, fast travel, or auto collect features, things like that. Just any kind of friction that exists inside of your map. You want to sell quality of life features to help make it more fun, but also still a grind, so we can keep that retention up. An honorable mention here as well is this infinite resource here. And what I just mean by that is, like, if you have a particularly rare kind of currency or rare kind of resource inside of your island, what you can do is sell an infinite version of that, which is like a one-time infinite gold or infinite gems, really whatever would be like an infinite thing that's just one time and they just get it permanently. They just have infinite amount of money. On the other hand, we have consumable products, which for example are like some currency packs. You could sell gold, gems, cash, really any kind of resource that is currency related. You could sell that. It could be honey, it could be bricks, whatever your island is. You can sell a variety of currency packs, which if you remember in some of the previous things that we've talked about, it's important that you sell a variety of these things. You could also sell a temporary boost, which is like 15 minutes 2x speed or 15 minutes double gold gain or stuff like that. Just temporary extra added benefit, which not only is a sale in the bag for you, but it's plus guaranteed, 15-minute retention for that player. Maybe you do want to go that route and you can stack multiple of these. So you'll just have like a timer variable in your player data, and then you could just add however many seconds to that value so that even when they leave, they could come back and it would resume where they left off. If they have a boost active, they are more likely to continue playing on the island for the duration of that boost before they decide to get off. You could also go the gambling route and sell loot boxes or any kind of like a random reward type product. It could be a loot box, it could be a crate, it could be a mystery bag. I mean, there's so many different variations of this that you could use. Whatever flavor fits your map, I would highly recommend. Any kind of loot box is repeatable. It is important though that you stay aligned with the rules and regulations for Fortnite. So keep that in mind. I'll drop a link down below of a few good resources that you can take a look at just to make sure that you don't get in trouble and everything is above board. The honorable mention in the consumable category would be like a replayable mini game. So let's say you have a parkour that gives people a crazy amount of like a resource or a temporary boost or something like that. Some kind of interactive mini game, you could sell a entry fee of like 50 V-bucks every time you want to play this mini game. Or it doesn't have to be parkour, it could be really any kind of mini game, but that's just the example that came to mind. So now that you know what kind of things to sell inside of your map, I want to talk about some of the psychological triggers that the biggest games in the industry use that most people have no idea about. So the first kind of psychological trigger that I want to talk to you about is progress gates and friction. And so the easiest way to understand how this works is you want to have a really fast, really addictive, a really fun early progression. And then what you want to happen is you want them to hit a grind wall where every little part of the map feels grindy and it's slow. And you want this to take place about 15 minutes into the session is when it starts to get really grindy. After they hit that grind wall, you want to present them with the purchase so that it feels smart and that it feels like a relief. And so a good way to visualize this is you want the beginning of the game to be really, really easy and really fun to play. And then you slowly want to ramp it up until it reaches a point where it gets really, really grindy. And so at this point, they are most likely to buy some kind of increment, some kind of little relief to ease the grind a little bit, and then it'll be really, really fun, and then it'll get hard again. And then when they do that, this is when you could do it again and again and again. And so the whole point here is that you want to have waves of grind, and then they get a little bit of relief when they purchase and they make a micro commitment. They go, oh, okay, well, this feels like a smart choice, so I'm gonna buy this and have some fun. One more thing right here is there's an area about here to here, which I like to call the sweet spot. Essentially, what I mean when I say the sweet spot is you want to create a balance of friction, not frustration, because if your game is too grindy and it's too hard, then people are just going to play something else. So it's really important that you figure out an equilibrium between what feels too hard and what is actually like super fun and addictive. All right, so the next psychological trigger that I want to talk about actually happens after a purchase is made. And so what we want to do is we want to rely off of social proof to make them feel really good about their purchase. And so an example of what this might look like is, let's say someone buys a 2x gold pass. What you could do is shout this out in the server. Broadcast an announcement. You could do it on the side, you could do it in the middle, but somehow praise the player and create social proof, not only to the player as, wow, oh my gosh, everyone knows, like, look how cool I am, but it also signifies to everyone else in the lobby that, wow, people want this thing, it has value, people are actually spending on it, right? And so it creates a chain reaction. This person buys the gold pass, and then someone else in the lobby sees that and also buys the gold pass, or maybe they buy a different item because of the way that you have it laid out. They go, oh, well, they bought the gold pass, well, actually, I don't want to buy the gold pass, I want to buy this boost or whatever, right? So it creates visibility and prompts people to check out the store or to tag along and also buy an item. Another way that you can give social proof to the players is by having VIP badges or some kind of cosmetic as well. And what this does is it creates a sense of envy from the players who aren't VIPs, because the person who's wearing the VIP crown or whatever kind of way that you want to display their status, they're basically a walking advertisement for your island, because anywhere that they go, anytime that they play the game, other players are going to be envious that they aren't VIP, they aren't as cool. It's all about status. And in the culture of flexing, giving players a way to show off what they bought, it prompts other players to also buy, and it signals that spending is frequent inside of your island. The last one is kind of a quick one, and it's a very simple thing called loss aversion. And essentially what this means is people hate losing more than they enjoy winning. And so, for example, let's say they have a 15-minute boost active or whatever. When the time's almost up, you could prompt them or remind them somehow on the screen and say, your timer's almost up, do you want to renew? You know, just like a really simple nudge to remind people that they're about to lose this bonus or this boost that they have. And so if you have like some kind of streak system or some kind of boost active, you could implement little nudges like that to remind people that they're about to lose out on whatever they already have. So this last part that I want to talk to you about is arguably the most important, and you cannot under any circumstance forget about the free player experience. And so the reason why this is so important is that the free players all have the potential to become a buyer. If all of the free players leave immediately, you don't have anybody to convert into sales. The reason why free players are so important is because they have multiple purposes. The first one, obviously, is that they populate the island, because let's be honest, nobody wants to play an empty island, and in fact, most islands rely on some kind of player engagement to even function to begin with. It's really important that they even exist just so that the map works. They also are future spenders. So kind of like I already mentioned, any free player has the potential to buy an item at any point. It really just depends on how you market it to them and if they have enough investment into the map to where it feels like a good purchase. And the third and final thing is that they inherently make revenue. And despite all of the amazing possibilities that we have within island transactions, we do still get paid for retention. So the longer we can keep the free players on the map, the more amount of revenue that we're going to be making in return. And so the last thing that I really want to emphasize is that the game must be fun without any kind of spending. You should design it in a way where free players can make meaningful progress for completely free, but premium players get to advance faster. They get an enhanced experience. It should still be fun regardless. That is like the number one most important thing. You should never make it so pay to win that they lose hope and they leave. And so it's really important that you understand the balance between pay to win and free to play, because if it's so pay to win, then you're losing out on potential customers in the future, and it overall negatively impacts your islands. And so an example of this would be a free player could get 100 coins per minute, which still is enough to play the game and it still is fun to play, but the premium player would get 300 coins a minute, which is objectively faster, and they'll progress faster through the map, but it still has to be fun for both players. So with all that being said, that is everything you need to know on how to get started with monetization inside of your island. If you want my full monetization checklist with all the strategies I talked about broken down, you can grab a copy of that for completely free inside of the Discord server. There's no catch or anything like that. I genuinely just want to help you guys make as much money as possible. So with all that being said, I just want to say thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Peace.